Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Leslie Smith, marketing expert, author of Laws of Motion, has been in business for herself for 30 years, assisting small businesses and nonprofits. And she takes a no nonsense approach to marketing and public relations. And her book was written for entrepreneurs and business owners who needed to master the basics quickly to start promoting their businesses. Welcome to the show, Leslie.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I love
You
your
are welcome.
tagline, profit from my live streams. So we'll make sure
You're
that people get
welcome.
something out of it today. It's great.
Absolutely, absolutely. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Leslie. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We will talk about no nonsense marketing and PR and try to make some sense of what is happening and what should be the right approach to take, especially for small businesses. But before that, let's understand a bit about your journey, your background, so that Leslie, people know who they are listening to.
Sure. Thank you for that. So I grew up in Southern California in Orange County. I don't know if you've heard of that, but there's been TV shows made. I didn't live in Newport Beach like the OC depicts, but grew up there, went to a commuter college there, Cal State Fullerton, which had a great experience, graduated in communications with emphasis in advertising. And then my first job was at an advertising agency, and we did shopping center advertising. So it was catalogs for, different shopping centers for back to school, Christmas, spring. Very rhythmic. I was sort of bored, itching to do a little more. I did a lot of volunteer work and learned more about the public relations side of promotions, not just advertising. And so branched out from there, had an opportunity to work for an association. So I worked for a local association in Long Beach of realtors. So it was, I think at the time, like 3,500 individual realtors, representing, I don't know how many brokerage firms that was. But then I got to do more of the community relations and getting them out in the community with events. We did, neighborhood cleanups. We did a big gala to raise money for different causes in the community. And we won awards from the National Association of Realtors for our community service. And I really learned through that and through volunteer work with the American Cancer Society and other boards how important the PR element was. And then I went up to Sacramento and worked for a statewide association of engineers. And I loved that job. I loved the people. I was promoting both the engineers' excellence and what they were doing, and they were mostly civil engineers, so as bridges and the things that make society better, and then also the making sure that people are using independent contractors, independent engineers in their design. So those were the things. And then I got married and moved back down to Southern California, moved to Long Beach, and started my own business. And I wanted to keep that job, the Sacramento job, and just do it from here. But that was 1994. And the internet was not what it is today. We were not live streaming. Internet was sort of rickety, right? At best, the email wasn't all that great. We were buying it by the minute, if you recall those days. And so my boss was like, no, I really need to see you. So I started my own business. And so learned through trial and error because it was probably premature. And I don't think that's unusual for a lot of startups that you dive in and then get ready. But in the long term, it's worked. So, but I was consistent about how I promoted myself. I went to the Chamber of Commerce breakfast every single Wednesday morning, got to know people, mostly also startup businesses or independent, promoters of, they were like sales reps for phone services and, different things. And then a lot of them had like a little side hustle that they were trying to build up. So it was actually a perfect market for me. So at that time, we didn't have digital tools. So I was creating flyers for people, brochures, setting up their branding, creating nice business cards for them to use. And then every once in a while, you'd have somebody with a little bit bigger budget and they could do some community relations. And I would do contests in schools and write press releases and different things like that. And then I grew. And then I started doing sub work for other firms, larger firms that could plug me into a bigger thing. And I did stuff on transportation and sanitation districts and, that government work that was actually really rewarding. It may seem dry, but it was actually you were out and about with people all the time, and the people fascinate me. They're also different, right? And then since then, I've worked with 30 different industries. So I found the principles are the same no matter what. I've worked with restaurants. I've worked in aerospace. So and I've worked with a lot of nonprofits because I did a lot of volunteer work. The associations are set up just like any nonprofit with the board of directors committee. So I understand the structure quickly, and I understand where we can leverage some of that volunteer work to get their stuff done and make their budget go further. So then so I was doing some workshops and trying to break down marketing really simple for people in the chamber. I did stuff at the Women's Business Council. I did something for the National Association of Women Business Owners, a local chapter. I did something for home-based businesses. And I took Newton's laws of motion and turned them into the laws of promotion. And I did this little workshop, done in an hour and a half. And people would walk away with the starting of a business plan. They had an objective, they had some strategies and some tactics, and they could figure out how they were going to level up and, be a big fish in a big pond. And so the 2020, when COVID hit, I finally had time to take that workshop and put it into a little book. So this is the little book. Laws of Promotion. It's 50 pages. I wanted it to be simple, elementary, not lose anybody. There's no jargon. If I use any acronyms, it's explained. There's fill in the blanks. There's cartoons. It's super accessible. Because what I learned in working with a lot of companies where maybe they would plug me in just to do a community relations piece is I would want to know how this fit up the levels of their marketing plan. What are we accomplishing here? And sometimes they didn't know. Even some large nonprofits are like, well, the grant says we have to do this. Like, well, that's not good enough. What are we going to accomplish here? Because if I don't know, I can't stylize the program appropriately to meet your unspoken, maybe unknown now, implications or expectations. And so at the end of the day, let's have those metrics in place so we know if we got there. So that's what this book helps you do, is helps you decide, okay, this is what I'm going to, it's very simple. This is what I'm going to accomplish. These are the ways I'm going to do that. And here are some tactics I can put to use right away that don't have to cost a lot of money. If you go to a luncheon, it may cost you $25, even as, a non-member. That's worth your time if you meet 2 or 3 people who can use you or refer you. So you don't have to buy $1,000 ads every month. If you can, great. And you can do that consistently so that it makes an impact. But if not, you start small and leverage it appropriately.
Absolutely. Leslie, we'll come to the book also. But first, you talked about Newton's law of motion to Newton's law of, Leslie's law of promotion. And if I remember Newton's law, I don't know if there was a science student in that way, but if I remember, one of the Newton's law was, every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
That's law 3.
And so, right. That's it. I'm correct here if I remember it. So if every action has an equal and opposite reaction in the terms of, about marketing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they were following this particular thing called either convince, or mm-hmm. corrupt or confuse. Even in promotions, tell a lie, one more lie, and another lie, and it will become a truth. Why does it all seem to working and it never went in the opposite direction? And now you are talking about no nonsense marketing and PR. I want to understand that. But first, is the age of all those things about nonsense PR and marketing over, and it will be, all about making sense going forward, especially in this new year?
Yes. Well, yes. And I don't do nasty PR. There's no smear campaigns here. I'm not getting involved in, some of those Hollywood fights that happen. So, and that's why I do work with nonprofits and small businesses, because they're very they just want to get their things done, right? They're not, you don't have to elbow your way and kill your competition to get ahead, right? I very much believe that there is enough out there for everyone. And if you collaborate, you're actually stronger. So I don't get into those kinds of things. I've done some crisis PR, and the people that I've worked with, they were right. So we were not backed into a corner. Some opposing forces had made us look bad. And so, coming out with the truth, and making sure that the media, sometimes the media doesn't like to tell that story because it's not as fantastic, but knowing the truth is still there. And sometimes you'll see this in the news where it's 30 years later, they're vindicated, right? So as far as Newton's third law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. In the book, I talk about this. So that's crisis, right? So, and there's a case study through the book. And in the case study, somebody has accused this small business owner of not delivering the whole amount in his product. It's a craft brewery. And so they said that he's shorting his kegs. There's not as many pints as should be in each keg. And so instead of fighting fire with fire, and goes, yes, there is, right? And you see that in the news, and it's so boring, and who cares? Instead, he does something opposite and leverages it for good. So he says, okay, to this restaurant owner, let's have an event, and it'll be your kegs against my kegs. And we'll see if they're equal, right? We'll see if there's as many pints as there are in both brands of beer. So they launch an event that benefits the Women's Business Council, because this craft brewer has found that a lot of women like beer, and that's sort of his niche. And so he's gotten in there. So it's going to benefit them. They have an auction, and it's $50 for all the beer you can drink and some food. And the restaurant donates the food, and they each donate so many kegs, and they have a good event. And the media catches wind of this. And at the end, there were the same amount of pints served from each keg. There was no truth to the accusation. And then in the book, it reveals that what was happening is at that restaurant where he had the restaurant owner, Ronnie, has his own brand of beer. And then he's also has the Brewster's beer there. Each of the employees gets a pint a night for each shift, and they would mark down, or put it in the system that it was the home brew, but they were really drinking the other beer. So if he had done all the math, it would have also shown that his keg had too much beer, right? So it was equal and opposite. And for small businesses who rely on, review services and good testimonials, something like Yelp. So instead of going, some people lie sometimes, right? They want to get free food or whatever. And so when people have a negative review, to go equal and opposite. So first, find out if it's true. Like, did somebody dump a bunch of food on them, possibly on purpose? Did the waiter have some sort of beef with the customer? Is this true? And if that's true, make it good, right? Buy that person a new outfit or do whatever you can, and then publicly respond to that comment. I'm so sorry. Come in. We have a gift certificate for you at Ann Taylor, and a gift certificate for you and your family to come back and eat, right? Which is equal and opposite. So it ruined their outfit. I'm giving you a new outfit. I'm giving you a new opportunity to enjoy the food here, right? Because that can ruin your night if a plate of food is dumped on you. And it's totally opposite. It wasn't nasty. It was good. It was all good, good, good. And so taking the high road will win you more customers. So always respond that way. And most testimonial and review services do let you comment publicly. And so then other people see that, oh, well, it was just a bad night or somebody made a mistake and they moved on.
Right, right, Leslie. So, in terms of no nonsense approach, what is
Yes.
this no nonsense approach?
Okay.
Means,
So the
can
no
you
non
live with no nonsense? Yeah, is there a definition that you have uh, created for this so that people
Sure.
understand it? Sometimes it may, just like in India, if you talk about non-violence, that does not mean you can't defend yourself. But,
Sure.
so in the same way, no nonsense means how do you defend yourself without talking nonsense.
Right. So I am always curious when I hear other marketing companies walk in and talk about the ROI, the KPI, and they use all these things, and you see these small business owners just sort of fold into themselves because they don't know what they're talking about. And then they feel embarrassed. Like, as a business owner, I should know all these acronyms. Well, no, not necessarily. You just need to know, supply and demand, really. Is there a demand for your product, and can you supply it? And then we just equal out. So don't worry about all of those things. And so what I've taken in the book, what I've done is taken it down to the 4 P's of the marketing mix: product, price, place, promotion. Let's go to the very basics. And so there's this little grid: product, price, place, promotion. And those all help determine your strategy. So product, you have to have a product that people like. Like, let's take it down to these brass tacks. And so, because I've also seen so many businesses, they start something, all their family told them it was great. They start something, they have a storefront because they're like, oh, they're super optimistic, and then they don't know how to promote it. And so go back to these foundational elements. Don't turn to social media. Posting more for a product that people don't want is not going to make it successful. Go back to your foundational elements. So go back to that product. Is it something that people really want? Have you tested it out in the market? Not just with your friends and family. They love you and they support you, and they are going to tell you things that make you feel better. They're not going to be hypercritical, because then you're going to take them off the Christmas list. They want you, right? They want to see you succeed, and they're going to tell you good stuff. So go outside of that, test the product, sell it cheap out there, and get feedback. Really, that's how a lot of successful businesses started, selling sweatshirts, at a swap meet, dirt cheap, to get the logo out there, get the brand out there, get people talking about it, and then introduce it to the public once you've maybe had to adjust some things. And then what is your pricing strategy? Is it going to stay dirt cheap? I mean, do that introductory offer. That's always a good way to go. And then where are you going to go? Are you going to stay at that introductory offer? Are you going to go sort of mid-range, or are you going to go to an elite brand and be more expensive? So that really dictates what your promotion's going to be. And then your place is very important. So if you start selling sweatshirts out of the back of your car, or at the swap meet, or, at some boutique or something, and then is that where you're going to stay? What's the best place? If you decide, oh my gosh, everybody loves this clothing line, they love this logo, they want it on hats and sweatshirts and t-shirts and baby onesies, they want it everywhere, they love this. Am I going to stay just digital? Am I just going to have an online shop, or am I going to have a brick and mortar shop? And then if I'm going to have brick and mortar, where is it going to be? Is it going to be in a strip mall? Is it going to be in a main street? Where is it going to be? And deciding that place also dictates how you will promote it. Then after you've figured out your product, your price, and your place, then move into promotion, which I like to divide for people. And this may be an oversimplification, but it works, into advertising and public relations. So you can buy ads, and you can buy ads online that are very cheap, and that might work for you depending on those other things: the product, price, place, promotion. If you're buying a bunch of ads, but people have to go in, then they're not doing that impulse buy. If you're buying digital ads and they can buy right there, then that fills that need for them to buy it right now. So you need to be mindful of that. And then, public relations. So it's all of those nice things, and they work hand in hand. It's not a good idea just to do one, but there are several digital companies that have no public relations work going on. But that's not most startups, right? Those are different kinds of companies. So you're showing up to the Chamber of Commerce meeting. Do you have nice business cards? Do you greet people nicely? Do you write a note afterwards? So nice to meet you. Let's grab coffee sometime. How are you portraying yourself out in the community? Are you volunteering for things? Are you leading things? Are you showing that you care for other people in the world? So all of those things help create a persona of someone people want to work with. They want to support that. Right? So that's,
Absolutely.
there you go. There's a year's worth of marketing class. No nonsense.
No nonsense. But a lot of people might be having, about, some sort of misconception about market, including small businesses. What is one thing that you would talk about that, okay, this is a misconception, this is one thing they should not have?
Perfect question. The misconception that I see a lot is more followers on social media will mean more sales. It's plainly not true. It's just, I have people all the time. Well, I had this thing that didn't have any yesterday. Someone told me this. I had this post that didn't have a call to action. No call to action. There was no buy, follow, anything. It went viral. Like, okay, so, and then what happened? Well, everybody knows about you. Okay, now what? So did they follow you, or did they just like that post and share the post? Or did you increase followers? Because if you didn't increase followers in your audience, then it didn't mean anything, right? There's no results. There's no return on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And people like, social media is great because it's free, right? Unless you're buying ads, it's free to post. But that doesn't mean posting more may not help you get to where you want to go, but you have to know where you want to go. Set those sales goals for yourself. Set those income goals. My business grew the most when I finally sat down and said, how much money can I make? How much money do I want to make? How much money do I need to make? Where's the bare minimum? And then, gosh, what can I do with that? How many hours a week do I want to work? At what rate will that help me get my goal? And then I could say, okay, well, I need to balance it because some of these things are seasonal. So yes, I may get a big push at the beginning of the year because people want to do their marketing plans. They want to set things up. But then in the summer, do I have enough cushion for a lull, or do I need to come up with some other things happening in summer? And that's just a budget, right? So coming up with my yearly budget helped me see, I need a new product to do in summer, right? So then you go back to those 4 Ps. What product can I do? What am I going to price it at? Who's going to come? Your market, your audience is so important. And then where am I going to put that, and how am I going to promote it? And so then you've created another little mini marketing plan. Just being strategic. And this is a really good framework.
Absolutely. In your book, who is this book for? Only for small businesses, or others can also utilize this?
Anyone can use it. And I think that's the secret, is that some people will use it and they won't want to admit they used it. So marketing books are hefty. They're 200 pages on up, and they're very technical. And it doesn't give you just a roadmap of this is how you can start right now. And so my book does that. So, and that was when I was talking to people out in the public, this is how I work. And they go, they don't have that kind of money. They don't have, and I'm not that expensive. They just don't have any extra money to put towards marketing. And so I wanted to refer them to a book. Even the book, the dummies books, Marketing for Dummies, it's a couple hundred pages. Like, they're not going to sit down and read that and grasp it. So this book, 50 pages, you can quickly consume it and put it right to work. And it's, nobody will be embarrassed because it's super simple, right? So there's consultants, right? Consultants are a big portion of the people I see out there and, connected with on LinkedIn. And they're great at what they do, but they've never had to promote themselves before. So if they didn't take a client with them when they retired, they're not sure how to go about it. and they haven't come up with, maybe they have some objectives, and then they turn to social media because it's inexpensive, it's free, right? And they spend a lot of time, setting up your social media can take a ton of time to make it really, nice looking and effective. And if you're paying someone, even for that, you could be paying thousands a month. So, and they don't have that yet. They're just starting up. So, and my thought is social media might not even be where they need to go. They're such a niche market. They need to meet other people in that area, because people work with people. They don't work with social media, right? They want to see who you are. They want to shake your hand. They want to meet you for lunch. It's all about establishing those relationships. And it's harder to do. You can start on social media and then start a conversation with somebody who's interested in what you do, right? You pose that problem, like, this is what you might be thinking. This is how I can help you solve it. Let's meet. Set up a meeting and then go. It's not just posting pretty pictures. They have to be very strategic. So the first law is a body at rest stays at rest, and a body in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. Okay, so many times startups, they're a body at rest, and they're going to stay at rest because they're like, well, I put together a website, it's out there. But no, a website, just a URL does not work on its own. You have to get that out there, right? Then the second law is force is equal to mass times acceleration. And I break that down into how much force do you need to do to get your product to move forward to meet your objectives. So that way they can scale appropriately. To start up, they might not need as much. It's not as much to promote a taco cart as it is to promote 25 restaurants across the country, right? You just don't need as much force. And so taking it down to that, you can be very strategic and figure out, how much do I need to do for this? And a lot of times people bite off more than they need. They buy like the primo customer relations management program that is very confusing for them. And I'm like, you just need an Excel sheet. Write down your clients when you talk to them what you said. That's all. And they've bought some gigantic program that costs them thousands of dollars, and it sits there. They don't know how to use it. So just take it simple.
Absolutely. And talking of, being in a rest position and acceleration, obviously the market is very conscious about these things. If you are resting too much, there is no acceleration, you will be late to rest. You and your business will certainly be late to rest. That's happening with a lot of businesses, small businesses. Many of them are not able to take off because of whatever the right or wrong marketing that they are doing. At least I personally believe that the time for no nonsense marketing and PR in the right earnest has arrived.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Yeah, and you see,
Absolutely.
like only 20% of businesses fail in the first year. And we notice the ones that have the brick or mortar, right? The restaurants, those kinds of things. It's so public because we saw the sign go up, we saw the sign go down. And it's like they didn't do anything in between. So there's the problem.
Absolutely. There's much to learn about all these things from you, especially no nonsense PR and marketing from you, especially for small businesses. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more about these things, also learn more from your book. So what's the best way for them to connect with you, Leslie?
Sure. So they can visit my website at mccormickla.com. And they can drop in, sign up for my newsletter. They can go to the books and resources page. We'll have that place where they can sign up for the newsletter as well. It'll link to my book on Amazon. And it's available, I think, in India in Kindle form. And it's $5. It's not expensive, right? That would be awful of me to charge a lot. And then, and drop me an email. There's, places for that on the website. And so it's mccormickla.com.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.